The digital overlords plot in the shadows. The banking tyrants scheme to chain you in perpetual debt. The machine god of surveillance hums, recording every coin you spend, every move you make, every whisper of financial freedom left in your soul. But fear not, brave outlaws of the digital frontier, because episode 12 of season 2 of the Outlaw Crypto Podcast brings forth a warrior of the highest order, a revolutionary in the fight for digital privacy, a true Monero crusader, Douglas Tuman. This is not just a podcaster, not just another talking head in the fiat slave propaganda machine. No! Doug Tuman is a digital guerrilla, a freedom-fighting juggernaut, a one-man wrecking crew dismantling the surveillance economy brick by brick. While the cowardly government stooges and bankster-controlled media shills push their CBDC dystopia, Doug has built an empire of pure, untraceable, censorship-resistant financial sovereignty. Monero Talk, the podcast that the technocratic overlords fear. The show that exposes the fiat Ponzi scheme, the corporate-controlled surveillance economy, and the banking parasite class for what they truly are. Every episode a wrecking ball to the lies of the monetary elite. Monerotopia, a conference of pure digital anarchy, a gathering of the bravest minds, the cypherpunk dissidents, the cryptographic warlords, all plotting the downfall of the KYC slavery system. A festival of privacy, defiance, and rebellion in the name of peer-to-peer digital cash. Gratuitas coffee, a weapon of monetary liberation, where every bag of coffee funds the revolution and starves the banksters of their blood money. You buy coffee with Monero and even send an XMR tip to the farmers who harvest the beans. And no tracking, no surveillance, no control. Every sip is a middle finger to the fiat death cult. XMR Bazaar, a peer-to-peer marketplace free from the corporate overlords, where no banks can freeze your funds, no government can shut you down, no spies can follow your transactions. A gray market for the truly free, where digital dissidents trade on their own terms. XMR Chat, a Monero-based content tipping and donation site, a platform for funding the revolution, an economic lifeline for those who refuse to be slaves to the corporate censorship empire. While the big tech overlords demonetize, deplatform, and silence dissidents, Doug has built a financial safe haven for the free minds of the world. And that's not all. This man had the audacity to run for Congress, to infiltrate the belly of the beast, to bring the fight to the very heart of the system, to stand against the corrupt political parasites sucking the lifeblood out of civilization. He may not have won, but his war against the machine continues stronger than ever. And in this explosive episode, we will dive deep into the secrets they don't want you to know. The digital escape routes from the financial surveillance state, the tools for breaking free from KYC enslavement, the path to true monetary sovereignty. Doug Tuman is a general in the cryptographic resistance. His work is a sledgehammer against the tyrannical forces of control. Monero is not just a coin. It is the antidote to the surveillance nightmare. This is the episode they fear, the knowledge they want to hide, the truth they cannot stop. So tune in, open your mind, and take back your financial freedom. Because once you hear what Doug Tuman has built, you will never go back to fiat enslavement again.
Welcome back to another episode of the Outlaw Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, Paranoia Machinery, and this is a Podcasting 2.0 podcast, which means that you can stream sats on the Fountain app if you think that Lightning is more private than Monero, and you can also donate through XMR Chat. My XMR Chat is xmrchat/outlaw_crypto. If you want to support the show, we're listener supported, so every donation helps. Tonight, I am overjoyed to welcome my guest, Douglas Tuman of Monerotopia. the conference and the podcast, and also the Monero Talk podcast, and I guess XMR Bazaar as well, right?
XMR Bazaar, XMR Chat,
Okay,
Monero Nodo. We got a whole bunch of things we're working on.
right on.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were involved with XMR Chat. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, we could get into all that. Whatever you want to get into, you let me know.
Yeah. Well, you're single-handedly like spearheading the Monero circular economy, it sounds like.
I'm trying, man.
You're like our Roger Ver.
Yeah, hopefully I don't end up in the same situation as the guy, and I'm not worth nearly as much. There's not nearly as many zeros behind my value, so it's more a labor of love than anything else. And it's a passion project, man. I'm sure I from what I gather of you, it's very much the same way, right? Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
You didn't need to go, spend an entire day heading over to the farm to help us out, give the tips out. Like, that was like a lot of work, right? And
Yeah.
I sent you a small gift that doesn't really come anywhere near to the amount of value you put in for us for helping out with Gratuitas. So I'm the same way, man. It's just I'm really passionate about trying to build out a Monero circular economy, because that's ultimately how we win, right? Like, I see that as the best strategy, and I just get a kick out of doing it, seeing it grow, seeing it
Yeah.
actually work. Like, somebody posted on Twitter yesterday that they just one of the Italian users just bought lemons off of a guy who
Oh
was
yeah, I
like
saw that.
who's selling lemons who had extra lemons in like in Spain, right? Like, because he had a batter crop. I'm like, it's like amazing. That like made my day. Like, no price pump in Monero would have put a bigger smile on my face than seeing some guy buy some lemons from another guy with Monero anonymously on XMR Bazaar.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. So I guess like what do you want to talk about? You've got your hands in so many things, like different projects and stuff like that. Like, which one are you most excited about?
I think the one I am most excited about is XMR Bazaar.
Okay.
Just because, like, for all the reasons we're saying. Obviously, Nodo's cool. We finally got that off the ground. I don't know if you were how close you've been following that.
Well, I know that you were working on it with some guy that was, I think he was like a Middle Eastern guy, maybe.
Yeah, he's Indian.
Okay, Indian. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
and then
there's other people involved.
Yeah, I remember you did like an interview on your show with that guy about it like a long time ago. And then
Abdullah, yeah, he's basically the guy who's running the whole project, right? So I funded it. Obviously, I give my creative input and try to help guide the project manage it. But he's like the day-to-day guy that was running it, and he's also a great designer, so he did a really good job of like designing the Nodo and designing all the the boxing material for it and the Nodo itself. I mean, like he did a fantastic job. He had a lot of other people involved that were developing different components of it, hardware and software. But yeah, he was really the brains of the operation. And we started this project like 3 years ago, maybe. I don't know. It was a long time ago. He randomly hit me up. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody kind of random in the Monero community like, "Hey, Doug," because I try to make myself as accessible as possible, right? So I'll have people kind of hit me up with various ideas, things they may want to work on. And so he hit me up, not so much with an idea, more of just like, "Hey, man, like I would like to one day work on something with you." And we just started talking about different ideas. We've thrown different concepts back and forth. And we arrived at the Nodo as being the project we should focus on, which is basically a plug and play Monero node. There had been other attempts made in the in the Monero ecosystem, but nothing ever really got off the ground, and so we wanted to fill that space. We thought it was time, and I think he did a great job designing it. So yeah, that's really what it is. I mean, it's meant to be a dedicated node, so it's spec'd for that purpose.
So
it also has a beautiful screen on it, so it can like show the latest Monero news, the latest XMR Bazaar posts that are coming across the screen. Really, its core functionality is I could connect my my Cake wallet to my own Monero node that I'm running, and now I'm using Monero in the most private and secure way possible because I'm connecting to my own node. And plus, I'm just adding redundancy to the network by supplying another node to the network, and that's really like what its core value proposition is just helping people run a dedicated. Obviously, people can run it on their own machines, but like, do they want to dedicate the machine to it 24/7, right? Like they may have to like turn the, like this is meant to be dedicated for that purpose. And yeah, there's other bells and whistles, and we have a larger vision, but that's like kind of really the first like use case for it.
Okay, I got quite a few questions about it. First of all, like I've seen like little Bitcoin versions of like something similar where it's like a little node that you plug in, and they have like, I don't know, there's like different ones that have like different like software. Like what software do you guys have running on the Nodo device itself? And like is that like something that you guys created?
Yeah, I mean, so basically, we obviously we use some, the open source, some of the open source things that exist out there in
Is it like
Monero.
running Linux or something?
Yeah, it's running Linux.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not super techie guy, so I don't want to get too far into the weeds with it.
Yeah.
You can look it up at
Can you mine with it?
Moneronodo.com. We had mining built into it. We had a plug and play miner built into it, but we since kind of turned that feature off.
Okay.
Just because it's really not going to do that. It's not going to do that well, right? We thought it'd be cool to have, but it's probably just going to harm the device more than like you gaining anything out of it. Like, because really we want this to maintain as a dedicated node. Like, we don't want it to like wear itself out or anything. And you can mine all day long, but you'd earn like if you kept the miner on, you would earn like a fraction of a cent, a
Okay. It's
week,
like
a
a
month,
super like
maybe a month.
tiny little like
Yeah,
computer or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's not gonna really compete. So it's cool just as a novelty, right? Like if we're saying like if Howard Chu is showing that he can mine Monero on his like old Honda radio, right?
Mm.
Like it's cool that the Nodo can do that. Maybe we'll turn it back on, but we thought probably wise not to muck things up with it. So theoretically, yes,
Just
you
out
can
of
mine.
curiosity, like how involved of a process is it to like manufacture a device like that?
Oh yeah, I mean it was pretty crazy, right? So we're getting it from like it's developed produced in China.
Okay.
Um, so Abdullah had to like source all the different parts, all the different pieces. It was quite involved, and then like the chipset itself is unique. Like we had made our own chipset. We're not like
Really?
using something off the shelf. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So it was quite involved, and once again, I said, but kind of beyond my technical prowess to really give it. Like, if you ever wanted to have him on the show, he could talk to you about it for days and get into the weeds.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's got. I mean, I could just read out some of the stats, but that could be kind of boring. 32
Electronic before.
gigabits of RAM. It's got 2 terabyte hard drive, so it's good.
Oh wow.
Ton of storage. Just yeah. So obviously the Monero blockchain is getting larger and larger, right? So we wanted to make it so like this
It's
thing would
future proof
last.
for a while.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of development went into the software end of it as well. Like you said, like we custom built like the user interface for it, so it's got a touch screen on it. We had to like develop all that. But obviously, like the Node software itself is just like that's like Monero open source, right? Like there wasn't much development that was done there, but there was a lot of different contributions that were made to get it off the ground for sure.
That's crazy. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was just wondering because like I've never made any sort of electronic device before, but I've like heard stories that it's not quite so easy.
Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, and it's very expensive and very risky, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Like buying stuff from China, like who knows if they rip you off, but
yeah, I didn't know if we'd ever make it to the finish line, to be honest. So, big props to the community because we pre-sold them, and that's kind of what gave me the capital to do this. So people
nice.
were buying them. They trusted in me and trusted that we would get to the finish line, and we did. So I'm really happy we did. Otherwise, I don't know. Probably would have had to left the Monero community at that point. But yeah, no, they had faith in us, and we got across the finish line. And yeah, I mean, I don't really break even with this project until we sell like, I think we had to say I think we were saying we have to sell like 280 of them. So we initially sold 100 of them.
Okay.
Although obviously it depends on the price of Monero, right? So all payments are made in Monero. Every Nodo we sold, I think, except two, because somebody personally requested if they could pay in cash instead, actually. But all the other ones, any of them that were bought online, were all paid for with Monero. So like, we're like the micro strategy of Monero, where all our income is in Monero.
Well,
Um,
no, you're more authentic than they are, because I don't think
of course.
MicroStrategy even accepts Bitcoin. Like,
Oh, dude,
people have made fun of them for that, like on their
oh
website,
my
like they
god.
sell like merch and stuff, and they
Yeah.
don't accept Bitcoin, only
But
credit
but our
cards.
whole treasury is in Monero, right? So
Yeah.
all our income is in Monero. Obviously, I try to pay as much try to do as much of my payments as I can in Monero. But some people aren't. Well, like the manufacturer wasn't accepting Monero for you know.
Would you have accepted Tether though? Because I hear these Chinese guys accept Tether, like the
Um,
factories and stuff like that.
I think we got some people to do that. And with these guys, we were just literally like using traditional bank account, like we had through our Monero Talk LLC, like making them like traditional bank payments where it takes like 3 days and we get charged like 25. I'm like, can you guys please just download this wallet and hit,
Yeah.
accept. It'll take you 30 seconds. You go trade it on an exchange, but no.
What else are you working on? You said you're working on XMR Bazaar, which has like a huge influx of users. I looked at it today, and there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of listings. People are selling all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, XMR Bazaar, the Monerotopia conference, obviously, Monero Talk show, XMR Chat.
I
People can
love
use.
XMR Chat. Like, people have given me donations. I've gotten
Yeah,
not quite a few, but I've gotten a few. And
awesome.
yeah,
No, I'd love to see it. Like with XMR Bazaar. I mean, anytime I see people using it, adopting it, and they're actually getting value and utility out of it, like yeah, it's working. Like I'm seeing
yeah,
various podcasters take chats in it, and then they're using that to answer questions like on their podcast, right? As even if they're doing
you need to
pre-recorded
push
podcast.
the hell out of it at this
Yeah,
Monerotopia Porkfest thing that you're going to do, because that's like the people
yes,
you really need to get on there,
yeah,
because those are the guys that get kicked off of every
yeah.
platform.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I want to really push XMR Chat and XMR Bazaar at Porkfest. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I think that's the right audience for those things, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah, the Porkfest audience, they're all about opting out. They've been trying. That's what the theme of that whole Porkfest is, right?
yeah,
Before crypto even existed, they were just using like gold and silver coins, and they weren't using fiat. So yeah, they're gonna really, I think, really be into XMR Bazaar. We're gonna try to add additional coins as well, right? So
okay,
you'll be able to pay in any crypto, but it will always settle in Monero. So it's obviously always going to be Monero based. So it's going to be, you know, whatever you're selling on there, you'll always ultimately receive Monero, but we're going to add an instant exchange option. So if somebody wants to come and spend Dogecoin
yeah,
for, some book that you're selling, you'll end up receiving Monero, but they can pay in Doge, right? So we'll do that, and I think that will really open it up as well. But it will still be, very Monero based, right? And still effectively growing the Monero circular economy. It's just bringing in other cryptos, right?
yeah,
That's allowing us to bring more liquidity into Monero.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's awesome. Like, I'm not in the maxi camp of any kind. Like, I was a Bitcoin maxi, and I chose not to be anymore. So like, I feel like maximalism kind of gave me tunnel vision and made me
Yeah,
overlook things that I shouldn't have overlooked. So like, I don't want to
same
like,
here.
yeah, pigeonhole myself like behind one currency anymore. But
Yeah, I'm
like,
dealing with a little bit of that in Monero land. Like there are like more maxi camps, right? You're seeing like there
yeah,
are maxis in Monero. Some people thought would label me a maxi, right? I think maybe less so now because they're seeing like the real maxis that are out there.
yeah,
Like I'm open to other like Monerotopia. We have other projects involved. I
you
got
got
like
some shit over the Zano
oh
thing.
my god, dude. Oh my god. I'm still going through it, man. I'm like, what
Still,
the fuck is wrong with you idiots? I'm like, this guy, the like, call Zano whatever you want, pre-mine, this, that. Like, the fact is, the main guy behind Zano is essentially one of the people that was the Satoshi Nakamoto of Monero. Like, it was him and Nicholas Van Saberhagen. They created the first implementation of Monero. So to not have Andre at a Monero conference when he wants to attend, that's like the equivalent of like a Bitcoin conference, like not wanting Satoshi to attend. you could disagree with the project he's currently working on. You cannot like what he's doing versus Monero. You could think it's a scam, but to not want him there, even just on that ground, or like and not be interested in what he's working on, you've lost the plot. Like you don't know what you're doing at that point in my mind. So like, yeah, I'm getting a lot of well, I mean the reason why I'm still residually getting affected by this is because now we're doing this conference at Porkfest, and Zano is going to be one of the sponsors, which is fine, right? This Monerotopia at Porkfest, we're doing our thing, but we wanted to team up with MoneroCon because MoneroCon is happening the same weekend.
Okay.
So I can't go to Monero. This is I've gone to every MoneroCon, including the first one.
That's
we
like
had
in Prague or something, right?
Yeah, it's in Prague.
Okay.
I've been to every single one we've had thus far. I've been to, and I participated in a large way. Last time I was like one of the MCs, and like Sunita and I did a ton of volunteering for them. I love MoneroCon. This year I can't go, and it happens to be on Porkfest. It's been on Porkfest in years past, and I skipped Porkfest and went to MoneroCon. But this year I can't really leave the States. I got a lot of stuff going on. I have a newborn, whatever. It doesn't work for me this year. So I was like, you know what? I'll just stay local. I'll go to Porkfest. And originally I was like, like kind of, concerned about it because like, it's very unfortunate that Porkfest is happening at the same time as MoneroCon. So it's like you got to do one or the other. But then I was like, you know what? Why don't we make lemonade out of lemons here? Combine forces, and we have a sister Monero conference at Porkfest while MoneroCon is taking place in Prague, and we promote it all together, we market it all together, and effectively we would have the largest Monero event ever to happen in history, right? Because you would have this
people
big
in two
Porkfest
parts of
event
the world.
happening. Yeah, at the same time, like you should see transaction count should basically reach new all-time highs if we did it right, right?
Yeah.
And so like I was excited because people use Monero at Porkfest.
Yeah.
More so than they use at MoneroCon. Like MoneroCon, like yes, you could buy your beer, but like at Porkfest, have you been to Pork? No, you
I've
haven't
never been. I've never been to it, but I'm familiar with it
There's
because
a lot of different vendors there, and
Yeah.
pretty much any of them that accept crypto accept Monero, and most of them accept crypto at this point. Like all of them, yeah, all of them. So
they accept gold backs, crypto,
yeah, so
cash,
you could chill out
silver,
at
gold.
Porkfest literally all week long, and you could buy like homemade Indian food with Monero. You could buy like, you know, weed brownies with Monero. You could literally live at your campsite off of Monero. And so my pitch to MoneroCon was, let's team up. Both of these conferences happen at the same time anyway. We'll stream your talks at our tent because I want to do that anyway, right? Like if Luke Parker is going to be giving a talk on full chain membership proofs, and we're all there, having our own Monero related talks.
It'd be cool to have
play that on the big screen, right?
Yeah.
Like even if it's at like 8 in the morning and you're drinking your coffee at your camp, like you're gonna come down and watch the Luke Parker talk if you're at Porkfest. So like, it's a no-brainer to me. MoneroCon, it's like run by like a committee of people. I don't know if you ever seen how they're like running things over there, but it's
no, I've never been to it, so I'm not very familiar.
Monero community gets a lot of flack sometimes with like some of the personalities that are in there, just like the way people deal with each other in these forums, right? Like there's a lot of assholes, right? There's a lot of assholic behavior. So long story short, like they voted against teaming up with Monerotopia.
Okay.
I was like, what? Because they didn't want to play our stream at their thing because they were worried that we're sponsored by Zano. And because they canceled Zano from MoneroCon, they don't want like a Zano logo showing up
on their event.
I'm like, so you're gonna miss out on all this like content that we're having. We're basically throwing another Monero conference. You're not gonna show that because you're so butthurt over Zano. Like you guys lost the fucking plot, right? And DarkFi too. They canceled Zano and DarkFi.
Why did they cancel DarkFi?
I don't know. I haven't really gotten good answers on the reasoning. They're just like, oh, we had this large debate about it. I'm like, well, can you summarize what your reasoning? And like, I've yet to been told exactly why that happened. But basically, they voted against having Zano as a sponsor, which is really stupid because this is how you fund these conferences. And like I said, Zano's not like, they're not like BitConnect or like they're not some like overt scam, right? You could think what you want to think about them, but they're not. Anybody should consider them decent enough where you'd want to take their money for a Monero conference to help fund the conference. Instead, they're ejecting them as a sponsor. Some ejected DarkFi as a sponsor, but supposedly they can still speak, but they just can't sponsor. And I think same with Zano, they can still speak, but they can't. Anyway, long story short, now they have to do a Monero CCS to raise community funds to make up for their shortfall because they don't have the sponsorships.
Because they were
So
too
I'm like,
principled to take the
I'm like,
sponsorships.
what have you effectively done now? Now you're
Yeah.
wasting community funds. You throw a conference that does have sponsors too, but you're just so selective with them that now you have to raise funds from they've collectively raised hundreds of thousands of dollars from the community to fund this like I do. Monerotopia is the same, like it's not too different. It's the same size, maybe even larger in some ways. We never raise community funds for it. We get sponsors, it funds the conference. And like they're just shooting themselves in the foot. It's like sorry to talk trash, but it's like really, if you guys are out there in Monero land hearing this, like we got to change it. Like they told me basically, and then anybody who's voting on MoneroCon is just anybody that wants to go hang out in the MoneroCon. Like it's not like some like official like board. Like they're basically saying as long as you come to all the meetings, you can vote on these things. So maybe we just need more people participating in the voting on what's happening at MoneroCon, because it just seems to be this small cohort that's making bad decisions.
Yeah, that's kind of disheartening that
Yeah.
they couldn't put differences aside and try to come together for an event. I think that sounds like a good idea personally, but
Well, I got really pissed, as you could probably hear, and so I went and like kind of I didn't hold back. I went in the chat room and spoke my mind, and they did the voting during.
Are you why they're proposing a code of conduct now?
What's that?
Are you why they're proposing a code of conduct now?
Are they really? Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I saw something. Where did I see it? There was like somebody was sharing a link on Twitter that was like to a proposal for like a code of conduct and like the IRC and stuff like that. Like they're trying to
Maybe I got to see what it is. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know if people like it. Apparently, it's like to ban Nazis or something. But
oh, that. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like if somebody went in there and was saying some crazy shit, and then like it's warranted,
Yeah.
or like if they're just being like overtly politically correct.
It's probably warranted because I mean these
Yeah.
rooms need to be like dedicated to a purpose. You can't be like planning a Monero conference and somebody in there talking about like their belief,
Politics and religion
why
and
they're
shit.
pro-Nazi, right? Like like I'm seeing that in our Telegram group for Monerotopia too, right? Like the purpose of the Monerotopia Telegram was to talk about Monero, to talk about living off Monero, opting out, like XMR Bazaar, like all those themes, digital cash, or you want to talk about like some competing privacy tech, basically everything you would talk about at the Monero conference.
Yeah.
But now, there's a lot of people in there that are just throwing out their their conspiracies and whatever
Just shit that's totally off topic and derails the conversation.
Yeah. Like very controversial political topics that have nothing to do with Monero. Like this is not going to help the project. This is not going to help us come together around digital cash. Like let's just talk about that topic, because the whole point of digital cash is that we should be able to have whatever viewpoints we have, right? And we're all using this like unbiased tool that anybody can use.
Yeah.
So stay focused on the tool and not like what the user's beliefs may be, because that's just going to lead to division. So I guess maybe it's just growing pains. Monero's getting older, so our community.
There's a lot of new people too that are in Monero
like the
right
tent
now.
is getting larger, so we're just seeing a lot of different. I guess it's going to obviously it's going to continue to evolve like that, but I do think people like us, need to be more proactive in trying to help set the culture, right?
Yeah.
Like even this conversation right now, people are going to hear that, right? Like,
yeah,
I think it's important that people be cognizant about the culture. I'm not saying, sanitize everything, but be cognizant of what the shared goal is, which is building out a digital cash economy. And don't let this other bullshit get in the way where we're no longer working together for that goal, right?
Yeah, because people get butthurt and want to fight.
Yeah.
That's happened to like a bunch of like Linux distributions. Like people live, like in the community, gotten angry with each other and then like forked the project off and that kind of thing. So yeah, I agree that's a risk, and we should try to strive for unity rather than division.
100%. And sometimes, I think it's an intentional attack. Obviously, whether it's another crypto like coming in to just fuck with the community, or like the feds, right? I mean, if they, it is like the easiest attack vector because it's a lot
I
of.
mean, like I would say that's what happened like with the Bitcoin thing. Like
Oh
they had
yeah,
people come in and start like a bunch of arguments and basically split the community. So
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. This Monero con thing had me so pissed off that I was like, I never want to go to another Monero con. I'm like, I don't even want to deal with these. But I was having one of those moments where like complete
yeah.
burnout. I was like thinking of just like, tweeting out like I'm gonna be taking a step back. I'll just be working on XMR Bazaar, my other projects behind the scenes. But like, I literally just don't want to deal with you fucking like. So that's unfortunate for getting to that point because I think if the one thing that I've proven is that I have stamina, like, and I've stuck with things. I've stuck with Monero. I stood like so. If I'm like getting to that point where like I'm ready to be like fuck all of you, that's a problem. That's not good, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what we do to fix it, but I think we need to remind people here what the shared mission is and kind of let's not weed out the people that don't have shared beliefs otherwise. Let them exist among us. But, we don't need to be having all these divisive conversations that have nothing to do with the project.
Yeah, I think we need to focus on bullying moon boys.
Yeah. Yeah, it is that too. I mean, I'm not totally against the Moon Boy thing in Monero. I'm not against that. Well, I mean, what are we defining as like? What do we say? So like people that literally just care about price and nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
You think that is I'm not really seeing that in Monero though, right? I mean, even those people
There's people, I
that I
think, a little bit.
see, they're also into using it and opting. I don't know. So that's what I hear. I see some people like I see some big accounts like that guy Crash. Have you seen that account?
Yeah.
He has like
He's like a Solana trader that makes like millions.
yo,
Like
who is this guy? And
he's just
people like were telling me like he's a kid or something. He's like a teenager or something.
I'm
And they
really not that familiar. Like he just started like popping up in my timeline on Twitter
yeah,
here, so like
like
I don't really
out
know
of
too much about him.
nowhere.
I just saw him posting like, oh, this week I made like 5 million, and he's like,
Yeah.
posting like his gains and shit. So I was like, wow, all
Yeah,
right.
he's into like this like token called Brett. It's like some NFT or something. I don't even know what
Okay,
the fuck
that's on the Coinbase chain.
what is it?
Okay, there's a Coinbase chain called Base, right? It's like an Ethereum layer 2, and it's like it's super permissioned and shit. Like Coinbase like controls it all. You have to KYC to use it and this kind of thing. But it's like a meme coin that's on that chain.
Yeah, so
And
it makes no sense. He's like all about this meme coin and then Monero. I'm like, who are you? How could you be into Monero and then also into just pumping this complete shitcoin meme coin thing that you're like it doesn't compute for me. I'm like, but like he has like so many followers, and when he does talk about Monero, he does talk about it in the right, like he's talking about all the talking points of why it matters, why it's important, why he's talking about it in terms of its like censorship resistance. So, but then he's also a like ultimate moon boy. So like
yeah,
I don't know, what do we think about that guy? I think it's good because
if
like
he's making millions like in a week, like trading meme coins on Solana and like Base,
yeah.
like he's probably funneling a lot of that into Monero, I would assume, if he's
Well,
talking
I made that
positively about it.
comment to him. I was like, honestly, I think you're full of shit with your like. I don't think you're really making all those millions. I'm like, why don't you prove it to us by pumping the price of it now right now? I got
Yeah.
so much shit. I got like all his like auto. He's got a ton of like auto accounts or something like following him too, because then they like all like auto attacked me. It was like,
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
like, we love Brett. I was like, okay, what the hell, Brett? Like, what?
The Brett bots, man. Like
Dude, it's
all
so
the meme
funny.
coin communities have like bot squads, right?
Oh my
Like
god.
Ripple's kind of like that, I think too.
Yeah.
Like
So we
have you ever insulted the Ripple community?
a long time ago. I haven't recently.
It's kind of funny. Like
Pumped
if you
anytime.
do, you'll start getting a bunch of Ripple comments from people like
Yeah.
bot. Well, I don't think they're real people. I think they're bots. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like that guy's interesting to me. Like that's cool. Like if he's making that much money, that would
Oh
be
yeah,
awesome.
all power to him.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, if he and he's telling his community about Monero.
Yeah.
My hunch is he's full of shit that like because I think he's just like that's how he gets his following, but maybe not. Maybe
I
he's
don't know.
actually
Like, there's a lot of these
like
like
if you're
meme
making that
coin,
money,
like
why are you?
NFT avatar trader guys that make a shitload of money, like on these meme
Yeah,
coins. Because like
yeah,
a lot of those meme coin like pumps are like there's Telegram groups and like Signal groups where like these people are organizing like which coins are going to pump, and like it's like a squad of people. So like I know they like coordinate together and make a lot of money. So he is just probably plugged in with like one of those groups, and
yeah. It could very well be legit.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like that's cool that he likes Monero. Like I've been hoping that like a lot of these meme coin guys would funnel their profits into Monero, especially like with the regulations coming into play. Like Mika, the European regulations are like super crazy. Like some guy wrote an article about it that I was reading earlier today about how basically they're making Bitcoin like totally permission and crypto totally permission. They're going to want to know like your wallet. You're going to have to prove that you like own your wallet if you want to take your money off the exchange, and they're going to KYC you, basically on your own wallet and that kind of thing. So eventually like people are going to seek out like a way to avoid that, I think, in the crypto world at least.
Yeah, 100%. People are going to be waking up as they get letters in the mail from various agencies asking them things about their crypto transactions, and they're like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah.
You so that's how people are going to start.
Did you see that guy like last week, I think it was, there was a guy that he had like millions in Bitcoin, and he was trying to hide it from like the IRS, and they started finding him like 10,000 a day.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like it's just starting.
Yeah, you can't. We've been saying this for years in Monero, right? Like, and whenever they like the Bitcoiners would like they do the boating accident meme. We're like, what the hell? Like, do you not even know your own tech? Like, there's no boating accidents in Bitcoin. Like, it does not apply. It
Yeah.
doesn't apply. I mean, even in Monero, it's like it's if anything, if any crypto can do a boating accident, it's Monero. And it's important because that is what makes it more unconfiscatable, right? So, when they come and knock on your door and they say, we see that you bought 110 Bitcoin off of Coinbase or whatever, and
We want it.
you're like, well, I don't have it anymore. Well, like we literally see it's here, it's sitting there in that wallet. So you're saying you don't control that wallet? Nope, I don't. Okay, the minute that Bitcoin moves, they're knocking on your door again.
Yeah.
And you're fucked.
Yeah. And then like once they identified you with that wallet, even if like you move it in a way that you think could like trick them, like if you did a coin join, or you swapped it to a different coin and then swap back, like their chances are they're going to be able to trace that. Like their technology is advanced to the point where like they can trace that stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I did lose a lot of Monero in a boating accident. Well, it wasn't a boating accident, to be honest. I just, I lost my private key. It wasn't a boating accident. Let's not be ridiculous. But if you write your key down on a piece of paper and you lose that piece of paper, it's gone.
Are you being sincere?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I never had any Monero to begin with. I just find the technology interesting.
And I know you're being sincere because you never bullshit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. I think Monero is going to just continue to rise in prominence. Like we've seen, kind of like the zeitgeist around Monero switch like dramatically over the past like year and a half. Like a lot of people that didn't take Monero seriously are now like talking about Monero. Like there's new podcasts popping up about Monero. There's people dedicating like their efforts in building stuff on Monero rather than Bitcoin now. Even
100%.
Bitcoin people are talking about Monero, and there's like a schism in the Bitcoin community where some people are cool with Monero and some aren't, So
yeah, I've never been more bullish in that regard. While the community is pissing me off as it gets larger, it's good that it's getting larger, and yet more people are talking. I mean, yeah, all sorts of like Peter Thiel, right? Or not Peter Thiel. Peter freaking Gold guy.
Schiff.
Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff was talking about Monero, right?
That's kind of crazy.
That's incredible, right? Like, I mean, he's this guy who doubled down being anti-Bitcoin, and the one thing he's kind of okay with in crypto is Monero. If you hear him talk about it, like when he criticizes Bitcoin, like one of his primary, ultimately his primary, because he's been saying this for years before he even said the M word. So I've always been saying, like, I think if anybody can go Monero, it could be Peter Schiff, because he would always basically get him to the point where he'd be like, all right, well, the one thing that Bitcoin's supposed to do well is being able to send money through the internet without anybody seeing that you're sending it. It's supposed to be like cash. He's like, and it doesn't even do that well. And so, like, finally, recently, he's like, but there is this other thing that does do it. It's called Monero. Like, connection has been made, and obviously he understands gold better than, he understands why fiat is completely worthless better than anybody else, but he's been unwilling to fill that void with Bitcoin. He thinks only gold can be that tool, but maybe Monero is the wedge in the door for him to realize that, a crypto done right can actually provide that value as well. I mean, his criticism now of, and this is, I guess, ultimately always been his other criticism of Bitcoin too, is that he just doesn't see he doesn't see value in it. I don't know, for some reason he doesn't see value in the network itself. Like that's
I
where
don't
he's
I don't
missing.
think he's being entirely honest, or he's like being willfully ignorant, because like he tried to do like an electronic like system based on gold, like where it was like a debit card but it had gold like in a vault somewhere.
Well, that's what he
And
really says, right? So, like, because
yeah,
somebody even pushed him on Monero again. I don't know if you heard him in his spaces, right? He brought up Monero at one point, and then somebody pushed him on it recently, and yeah, they're giving him pushback, and he was like, "Yeah, but even Monero is like, ultimately, why does it have value? Like, there's nothing backing it." He's like, "If I could go turn my Monero in for gold, then maybe I would see value in it." But effectively, you can do that, right? It has like
he's
there
got
you could
tunnel vision though, because like
you could
if gold,
endlessly
somebody
buy
has to
gold.
custody the gold. That's a central point of failure, and that's like where the value is. That there's no
Right.
central point of failure, that it can be attacked and it's resilient to attack. Like that's where the value is.
Yeah, it boggles my mind that he understands money so well and gold so well, but he can't fathom a digital form of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
but like I said, what he's really missing is that the network itself has the value. That's the value backing it, is the network of users that are using it for transacting value. It's the value of the network. So it's like him not seeing value in Twitter, right? Like, oh, but I can't turn my my Twitter token into gold. But yeah, would you agree it has value if it was based on the market cap of Twitter itself? Do you think Twitter can have a market, or X? Do you think X can have a market cap? There's nothing physically backing it. It's just a network. Like, and I'm sure you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, obviously. Like, but for some reason with crypto, he doesn't make that association. I think we could get him there though too, because obviously he's not willing at this point to ever say, "All right, I was wrong about Bitcoin." So Monero is a way for him to not be wrong about Bitcoin, right? He's right. It's actually a shit coin. It's just
Yeah.
an NFT. It's completely traceable. But this other thing actually does check all the boxes and makes sense, and does have utility because you can use it to send it anonymously, privately, without the government being able to see you, move money or use money.
And the inflation rate is less than gold.
Yeah, right. That too. So I think it kind of could be his way out. So we'll see. Hopefully,
A lot of
hopefully
people
the
have been
Monero
tweeting
total
that
return
he's going to be
falls.
the sailor of Monero.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to edge him on to.
Yeah.
I just need like a face to face with this guy for an hour. I would love to do a podcast with him. I'm sure you would too.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I could get him to like meet up with me in Puerto Rico. I'm gonna be going down there at some pretty soon
Yeah,
actually.
that's where
That'd be
that's
amazing.
where he lives.
Yeah,
You just got to
yeah.
find out where he likes to go get his drinks at, and then
Exactly.
just be there one night. Like, do you believe in mass adoption, Doug?
Yeah, I do. I know we talked to other people that like mass adoption for Monero.
Yeah, I'm skeptical on it, because I think mass adoption and like the fact that like the community is growing and pissing you off is kind of evidence of my thesis that bringing everybody into it is going to corrupt it and make it like Bitcoin. Whereas like if we keep it niche and like for like freedom minded people, that maybe it won't be as big of a network, but it'll be a parallel network that exists still, and it might be
Yeah,
better
no,
off
I
that
mean,
way.
I see it as going through phases, right? So obviously the first phase is going to be this smaller network of
Yeah.
just early adopters, people that actually believe in the tool for that one given purpose, and they're using it and they're opting out with it, which is only a very small percentage of the world population is willing to like opt out and live off of this like, digital money, right? But I do believe that that's just that use case is going to grow larger and larger naturally among the global population, especially as technocracy grows throughout the world. And yeah, we're going to get all sorts of different people that come into the space, but I think the amount of people that are going to be coming in, they're not going to be coming in for number go up a little bit, but they're really going to be coming in out of a need, and I think that need is
For
much
freedom.
larger than just the liberty community, because the need for liberty, like the liberty community is just at the forefront. We just have the vision, right? We just know that things are getting worse and worse, right? And like technocracy is growing, and we're just like we're just the ones that are able to kind of see the storm coming. But once the storm really fully hits, people are going to be looking for a life raft. We're already going to be on it. But I think the amount of people that are going to want to jump on that raft is just going to grow to global adoption in a way, right? Obviously, there are always going to be those that like never opted out of the state and they're completely stuck in it. But I think it's going to be a global utility for digital cash. I mean, even the United States government might get into Monero sooner than you think, right? They might already have it. They sh-
We know they
all
have some
all
because
sources
they've
point
certainly
to the
seized
fact that
some,
they
right?
yeah, they seized a lot. Like when you
Yeah.
do, somebody put out a tweet, like kind of listing. I think you saw that too, right? Listing all the different incidents where it was publicized that Monero was seized by the U.S. government,
No,
right?
I didn't see that actually.
Yeah, because we were talking about it, and then somebody put it in the thread, and like, the different headlines, and where they mentioned that X amount of Monero was seized, or an unknown amount of Monero was seized. But like, if you look at it, like, it probably adds up to at least like 30,000 Monero, at least, like just looking at those, like, and probably more. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had, 50,000 to 100,000 Monero. I would say like 50,000. I think it's like a fair guess if you look at the seizures that have happened in the past that we know have happened. So they have Monero, right? And now the executive order passed where, Trump is going to be creating this strategic reserve, right? He's creating two things, right? He's creating like the basically the Bitcoin only reserve, and then the strategic reserve, which what they said includes any other crypto that they've seized, right? I
Yeah.
guess if it fits certain, you know,
I saw
maybe
like a
some
list. They have like 10,
they
10
did said
different
like
coins or something.
yeah, then David Sachs, I think, said like, well, we might sell our Ethereum for Bitcoin, like, but we're gonna like anything we have, we're either gonna hold it or turn it into Bitcoin. Essentially, is what they said. Because
There's another guy that said they're trying to get as much Bitcoin as they can, like in a budget neutral way, like just
right,
yesterday or the
exactly.
day before. Like,
Right. So they're going to use
yeah,
budget neutral tactics, which is basically using all the crypto
seizing.
that they've already seized, or they're going to go seize more,
Yeah.
right? Which is not a good thing, right? Now they want to come after it. Like, good luck, guys. Like, you may want to have a crypto that you can lose in a boating accident at that point, right? Like,
Yeah.
that could be a big wake up call when you start to see all these seizures happen. But my point is, like, the U.S. government is going to have some Monero, and like, do I want them to not have it? Sure, I guess I do in theory, but there's nothing I can do to stop that, right? It's just like I never got Bitcoiners that were like pissed about chain analysis, like the fact that chain analytics companies exist. So if you're pissed about that, change the protocol. But don't sit there and like whine about the fact that this whole industry exists that's like surveilling the chain and like, oh, those guys suck. Like it's a pure open free, it's a free market in crypto, right? You're supposed to be pro free market. The market's going to do what the market, if there's if there's a need and a way to trace your coin and it's going to be worth money doing it, somebody's going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, to be like upset with the government interfacing with Monero, I mean, the government exists it's been the plan all along, right? The idea isn't that crypto would exist completely outside of the government. It's going to interface with it, but in a way where if it's done right and if the protocol is built correctly, even them interfacing it won't allow them to ultimately co-opt it.
Yeah.
So I do think it's possible for Monero, and I'm rooting for Monero to reach some kind of level of mainstream adoption, global adoption, but ultimately in a way where it hasn't been co-opted. And if it does get co-opted, then that means it just failed, right? And then like maybe something else will be able to.
So when you say
pick
that,
up
are we
the slack.
talking like internet numbers, like 3 billion people out of 7, or like 4 billion people are using it right now out of the people on Earth, or are we talking like 3 to 500 million tech savvy people all around the
I think
world? That's like an
I think
economy.
I think eventually it's going to be like gold, right? Like everybody's going to have a little bit of it, right?
Okay.
Um, because there's great value in being able to own an asset that's like the most unconfiscatable asset you could have. And I currently see that as Monero, right? Like what else fills that use case, right? I mean, it's currently the best at that. So if you see utility in that, um, then yeah, I think it's utility for anybody, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we get to a point where we're no longer fearful of governments or corporations stealing from us, but that's not, we're never
I
going to
don't think
get
that's ever going to happen.
so
Yeah.
the utility for Monero is only going to grow, right? And everybody's going to see, they may have their CBDC, they may have some Bitcoin, they may have, but they're going to see value in having like a stash of untraceable digital cash that they can use on the internet. They could buy stuff
Yeah.
without the government stopping them. Everybody's going to have some need where they want to go buy something, or maybe it's on some blacklist or something, and you can't purchase it, and the only way to purchase is with Monero. And just there's going to be people that are just going to want to hide their money, like businesses, companies. Like there's value in being,
Individuals, like,
yeah, individuals, obviously individuals, right?
yeah.
Like there's great value in being able to store wealth and hide it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, right?
I
Obviously,
think
I think.
so. I think so as well. I'm fully in agreement with that. Like that's one of the things that I always tell like Bitcoiners that I debate with on social media is like, look, like you guys lost the plot. We're here for black markets and tax evasion. Like that's what separating the government from the money system means. Like they will no longer have the ability to tell you what you can buy and sell, and they will no longer have the ability to steal from you compulsory.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I will, right? Like they have to ask us for permission, and
yeah,
it's not even saying like, okay, that means everybody by using Monero, you're admitting to the fact or saying that I don't pay taxes. No, it's the same as cash, right? I believe, especially here in the U.S., you should be able to transact freely, peer to peer, without having to report every transaction to the government or without having a corporation seeing everything you're doing. You should be able to do that, and if the government wants to ask you to pay some taxes, that's up to you to figure out the taxes you owe, and you pay those taxes. No different than the Chinese restaurant that's cash only, or right. There's great liberty and freedom in that. It's not saying go break that maybe you want to make that decision. Maybe you do want to do that, right? But like the point is, ultimately, the populace needs a tool like that to keep government in check and to prevent tyranny. It's like free speech itself. It just puts the power into the individual instead of into the state. And the state has to come, and if they want to ask for their pound of flesh, they could ask for it. But to create a system where they can just instantly extract it without question. I mean, that's like Fourth Amendment violations. That's like so many like violations of like so many different liberties that are supposed to be part of like the fabric of what would make a free and open society. So I think it's a necessary tool. Yeah, initially it's going to be used for dark markets. It's going to be used in places where that's the only thing that would work for those purposes. But I don't think it should be. We should. I mean, label it as whatever you want. But I label it as a free speech money tool. Are
I think
people
it's
using it?
growing past like the
Yeah.
dark market thing. I mean, obviously Monero's like taking over the dark net markets, but like I'm starting to see like on ClearNet sites that like Monero is like the dominant payment method, like for
Yeah, because it
companies that
makes
accept
sense for
crypto.
those reasons too, right? It's
Yeah.
super cheap to send, right? You receive it on chain. You're not using like some. I mean, maybe a second layer will make cents at some point, but super cheap, fraction of a cent to send, and nobody knows you received. Somebody can't just come and look at your address and look at your books and see how much money you have in your accounts. So, like, it's a no-brainer for people to send. Even all right, even if they're not doing nefarious things, it's just good business practice.
Yeah.
And you're gonna want to receive something where the whole world can't see how much you're receiving.
Did you watch the last or most recent, I guess, Monero Mateo video? He
No, I don't think so. Who is
okay,
it?
he's an accountant, and
Oh yeah.
he
But he had
made
a
a
guest on,
video.
or is it?
No,
Okay.
he made a video though, and he was talking about when the full chain membership proof thing goes in, like they're gonna like the view key is gonna allow you to opt in to like compliance if you want to be, right? I know a lot of Monero people are like, no, like fuck that. But like he was saying for business, like this is extremely important because like accounting is like fundamental to like business. And if you're going to be like operating a business that is able to operate legally, like you need to be able to be compliant. So like
Yeah, I mean, Monero always had view keys. We have view keys. We just had ones that didn't work well because it only shows the transactions coming in, not the transactions going out. And that was only because we didn't have the technology to make them work properly. But the point of a view key has always existed as a feature in Monero. Now it's just actually going to actually function for its originally intended purpose, right? And
yeah.
it's like anything else. Like if you're just giving the user the option to show their address, right? Without giving away your private key, right?
So that won't have a negative impact. Like if there's like a bunch of people that just all of a sudden their businesses start accepting Monero and they're being compliant, they're showing their transactions to the government, like I know like full chain membership proofs is going to be like an exponential increase in the anonymity set and the privacy, like because it's going to be a zero knowledge proof rather than a ring signature. But like, how will that impact? Like, if people are using their view keys to show the government and like tax collectors and stuff like that, Chainalysis, like these transactions that they're doing, like how will that impact the overall like anonymity set?
Yeah, I mean that's a question for Luke Parker.
Yeah.
I don't think. First of all, it'd have to be like everybody showing their view key. Like it's
Well, I
not
mean, if
that's
there's
not
like
going to be
thousands of
that.
businesses around the world, like all showing different governments around the world, like government share information and
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a Luke Parker question, but I'm
yeah.
pretty sure full chain membership proofs has that covered, right? Because it's a full anonymity set of the entire chain. So
Yeah, it's like
the
100 million
the thing is,
transactions as of now or something, right? Yeah.
yeah, 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 and it's yeah, and you're just showing. Well, I guess you're just showing the Monero that came in and out of your wallet. You're not giving them your private key, right?
Yeah, but can't they see like the transaction ID or like once you have to provide like a transaction ID or something like that? Or like
I
how
don't know
like
all the
they
data
right now they
Yeah,
have like decoys,
yeah,
like they know
yeah,
they have like a database where they can kind of like
yeah,
knock the rings down a little bit and that kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how that would correlate with everybody showing their view keys at the same time and what the I don't think I don't think it's a
Oh,
vital
issue?
flaw.
Yeah.
I'll happily no I will happily ask Luke Parker that next time I'm interviewing him or whatever.
Right on. Hey, we've
Yeah.
gone an hour. I don't know how much time you wanted to dedicate to this, but do you got another half hour in you, or would you like to call it quits here?
I could go for another half hour. I'm
All right.
I'm watching my sleeping baby over here.
All
And
right. Well, if she starts crying, we'll cut it
shut
off.
up.
How old is she now?
Just 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. She's taking a little nap
How are you
for
liking
her.
fatherhood?
I love it, man. I have a 10-year-old, so I've
Oh,
already
okay. You've already gone
yeah,
through it.
and I
Actually, you
I
told me
highly
that the
I
other night.
highly recommend it.
She
Yeah,
speaks
yeah.
Polish or something, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
yes, yes.
All right. All right.
I love it, man. I love it.
Nice.
So yeah, I have two girls. I mean, the 3-month-old, she's smiling and giggling. Obviously, I can't wait to like I'm talking with her, and she already has a little personality. But I mean,
Yeah.
like things just get. You have kids, right?
I got one, and he's 7,
Yeah,
and I know what you mean. Like once they start
yeah,
talking and running
yeah.
around
It's
and cracking
amazing. It's
jokes and stuff,
amazing.
they're funny.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I wish I had more. Maybe maybe I'll still have time for
Yeah.
another one. I don't know.
Yeah.
My
Maybe so.
advice to any of the young dudes out there listening, yeah, try to make a family, man. Find somebody, make babies.
Hell yeah.
And it just gives you it changes your perceptions on life in a very good way, right? It recalibrates your perceptions on things that like may have mattered so much to you just no longer matter at all, right? once you have a family and little babies that you need to take care of, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's good. It makes you more human in that respect. So highly recommend it. Maybe don't go Elon and have 12 of them with like 4 different women, but
Yo,
I mean, if you could pull it off, I don't know, maybe.
did you know all his kids are like test tube babies?
I didn't know all of them. No, I did not.
I think maybe he has like 1 or 2 that are like actually natural, but like a lot of his kids are like lab babies.
Yeah, like he wasn't even participating in
That's
the
very,
physical
very
action
strange
of
to
making.
me.
Was he though? Or was he still Like, were they still
I don't know
getting
how
down?
that
And
works.
everything? If he wasn't even doing that, then that's weird. If they were
Yeah.
like still like trying, but then doing that, all right. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you're just like I analyzed your data, my DNA, your DNA will create a super child. Then
I
I'd
mean,
be like,
he might be on like some weird shit like that because he's like a billionaire, you know. He's got like he wants to brain chip everybody and make like superhumans that way. So maybe he is
yeah.
trying to like breed superhumans too.
Yeah, maybe he's running some algo and he's picking like the perfect mate.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm going to change the subject here, but are you familiar with this Ann network?
I don't really. I'm only familiar with it because I know the guy, with some of the people that are into it.
Okay.
He runs a Kuno, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he explained it to me one day because when he was first taking over Kuno, we had a whole big discussion, and he started telling me about. But I never really kind of grasped it, or I haven't really dug
Okay,
too
it's
deep
like
on it.
a
Yeah.
decentralized, like I don't know if you'd call it like a blockchain, but it's like it kind of works like a blockchain, I guess, a little bit, but it's like a decentralized like internet, I guess. And there's like file sharing, and you can like talk to people, like message people and stuff,
And
and
does it
like you
have
can mine
values?
it, and yeah, you
Does
can
have.
earn the token for it. So I today, like I messaged Radon. I don't know if you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with Radon. He's like one of the developers, I guess,
Yes. Yeah.
for Ant.
He's the guy who runs Kuno. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I
Yeah.
messaged him yesterday because he was posting about Ant, and I was like, oh, cool, that looks interesting. Like, I want to run a node, and he like sent me like a tutorial, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, so today in the morning I tried it out, and then I had some issues like with I don't know. I run Linux and there was technical issues that I had to troubleshoot. So I was talking to him in Telegram like literally all day today. I spent probably like 6 or 7 hours like talking to him in Telegram, going back and forth while we were trying to figure out how to get it to work on my computer. And then finally I got it up and running, and I'm now mining it as we speak. And I'm also mining Monero as we speak, which is kind of
Sweet.
cool. Yeah. So, but I was just curious if you've heard of it because I know you know a lot of people in the community and
I
you know
have
the
heard of
Kuno
it.
guys.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I haven't gotten involved in it. Like, yeah, I haven't really gone down that path. Um, Happy to have them come on a show or something, or get them involved in Monerotopia if they want, be involved in the conference. Um, it sounds cool. Yeah, there's been obviously other attempts at that concept, right? Of like essentially a more decentralized internet, right? Like a blockchain run internet, right? But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the specifics of it and what makes it different than these other attempts and why this one might work. I don't know.
was reading the white paper. I haven't read all of it. I've read like halfway through it, but basically it's like it has like a different like network architecture that like because like I guess like with blockchains like they're inefficient, right? And then when you store data on the chain, it makes them like less scalable and like more
Yeah.
problematic, and like then you have to centralize them so that there's like that trade-off, right? So like this, I guess like the architecture is like more for like sharing data amongst a bunch of people, like it kind
Okay.
of like BitTorrent or something, I guess. So but like I
Yeah,
guess
yeah,
like a newer protocol that does something similar. So
exactly.
it's very, very interesting. But yeah, I was just curious if you messed around with it at all.
No, never messed around with it. I've spoken to Radon about it, but not much more than that.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. So with the Porkfest thing, the controversial Porkfest Monerotopia event, like who do you have that's going to be showing up and speaking and all that kind of thing so far?
That's a good question. We really don't have a speaker list yet, so I'm working with Aaron Day on that. Do
Okay.
you know Aaron?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
right?
actually interviewed him on the show.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so I'm going to be working with him, putting a list together. What's nice about Porkfest is already a lot of talent that's just going to Porkfest. It's not like we have to like fly people in for this conference or anything. Like they're already going to be there. So yeah, we'll start rounding people up specifically, and putting together a speaker list, some panels and whatnot. But I'm sure we'll be able to find a decent group of speakers, especially at Porkfest. Like,
How many people are expected to show up this year?
I think they get like 3,000 people.
Okay. So it's not super huge, but it is good sized.
Yeah, it's not. It feels well. I don't know. Maybe it's more. I mean, it feels super huge because it's in a campsite, and the campsite's pretty vast.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big campsite. You just have, all the stalls are taken, and it's like it goes pretty far. People in RVs, people just camping in tents, and then there's also like a motel on the premises that gets
Okay.
completely packed out. Like all the utilities are like running full max. Like they like so it feels like it feels huge. It feels big. Some years have been much bigger than others. I missed the super big year because I was at MoneroCon actually. It was like 2 years ago, I guess. I was at last year's, but the year before, because you had like Vivek Ramaswamy showed up, and I
Okay.
think RFK Jr. showed up. I was so pissed that I couldn't go. I was like, God damn you, MoneroCon! The sacrifices I made for you. And I missed, yeah, because that would have been like a perfect opportunity to talk to Vivek Ramaswamy about Monero, talk to RFK Jr. about Digital Cat. Like the people you run into there are amazing. It's like Monero conference, you're talking to Monero people, right? Here, you're talking to Liberty people. So it's really cool because you're not just talking Monero, right? You're talking to people that if they don't yet know much about Monero, they're very open to learning about it and probably are going to get into it because like they'll instantly understand the value prop of it. I'm trying to think like yeah, we really I don't want to throw names out there because we don't officially have a list yet, but I'm sure we'll get a good group. The Zano team, yeah, they are sponsors, so they're gonna actually even try to come, which I'm surprised because they're gonna have to get visas and stuff. But we had a call with them the other day. They actually might try to come physically
Wow.
and hang out. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll get some DarkFi people to come now that DarkFi can't sponsor MoneroCon. They're welcome over at the Monerotopia Porkfest tent. Edge Wallet guys usually always there. Paul Pui.
Okay.
Yeah, there's other and then there's just a lot of other crypto people that just show up for other reasons. So I'm sure we'll get them up on the stage. And then there's just like Monero OGs that you don't even knew existed, but they do exist, and they've been going to Porkfest forever.
Yeah.
So you just end up having bring those people up on stage. You hear their Monero stories, people that have been in it like from the beginning using it. So yeah, there'll be no shortage of
And
speakers.
then I'm sure like all the libertarian guys like Derek, the guy you interviewed the other night, Derek
Derek
Bros.
Bros.
Yeah, and then Larkin Rose, like those kind of guys are all going to be there too as well.
Yeah, Derek hasn't. He's never attended, but I spoke to him
Really?
last night. Yeah, he's gonna try to go.
Wow.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
He
We'll see
seems
if
like
he's.
the guy that would be at that shit every year.
Yeah, I don't think he ever went. And yeah,
That's wild.
he's super OG crypto,
Yeah.
right? Like was doing the opt out thing before anybody. Worked with a lot of the people that have gone to Porkfest. Like Roger Vera would go there in the early days. He onboarded a lot of people to Bitcoin back in the day at Porkfest. Like there's stories of people that were like selling like coffee and donuts that are like made hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin because they were just selling coffee and donuts when Bitcoin was at like 50 cents. Porkfest, right? So
Yeah, I saw a
it's
video today on Twitter where it was like from 2012 Porkfest, and they had like a vending machine that was selling the cassacious bitcoins,
yeah,
like they
there
were
you go.
like
Yeah,
physical
exactly.
bitcoins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to go there, like when I first went to Porkfest, like I had heard about once I was like I was a Bitcoin maxi, right? I was listening to the podcasters and stuff, and I discovered Porkfest through that. I was like, I gotta go, and it took me some time, and then I got into Monero, and I was like, I really got to go check out Porkfest. I was like, because if they're not using Monero at Porkfest, like something's wrong, right? Because like I've heard all these OGs are there, and sure enough, when I went, like people were using Monero, they knew Monero. I was like, all right. I was like, all right, all right, all right.
That's awesome.
It's not, yeah, I'm not living in a little dream world here. Like it actually is working as intended. Like Dash is like was popular there at one point.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that chick, Amanda B. Johnson. She would
Yes,
always do
like
like the videos from
yeah,
Porkfest
I
and
was
like
like,
New
you're
Hampshire.
the Dash chick. Like
Yeah.
she's buying coffee off of me for Monero. So yeah, and a lot of like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, just all those. Everybody there is accepting all those cryptos. Monero, like I said, I think it's fair to say Monero is like the most, most accepted crypto. Maybe Monero and Bitcoin Cash. Like the most accepted thing of all is goldbacks. Like everybody accepts goldbacks. From like the 5-year-old kid that's selling soap to like like everybody's willing to accept a gold back.
That's
And
awesome.
then anybody that accepts crypto, most are accepting Monero. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Aaron
Uh,
Aaron like lives in New Hampshire, Aaron Day, and like he was saying that he uses goldbacks like regularly, like when it's not Porkfest. So I think like a lot of
yeah.
people in New Hampshire like just use goldbacks like it's
Yes.
money.
Yeah. Yeah. This community of people that come to the conference there's a good percentage of them that actually live there, right? They're part of the Liberty movement there, where they all tried to move to New Hampshire. And that's what Porkfest grew out of. So
Okay.
anybody that's in that community is accepting goldbacks. And yeah, I haven't been to. There's the part of New Hampshire where there's a bunch of like crypto goldback people that like are living in like coffee shops and whatnot. They all accept crypto and goldbacks. I've only hung out at Porkfest itself, but
How
yeah,
far is like New Hampshire from where you live? Is it like super
it's
far?
far, man. It's far. It's
Yeah.
it's the East Coast, but it's all the way up there. It's like a 6-hour drive.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
far.
It's in the mountains. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. Yeah, New
When is
Hampshire
this all taking place?
in June,
Oh, nice.
June 20, like 5th. Should I say 20? Well, Porkfest itself is actually a week long.
Okay.
But the our conf and well, Aaron's saying we'll be going all week, but I don't know. But like I think things will really like kick off towards the end of the week. That's when Porkfest always gets big. So it starts on like a Monday, and like the hardcore
And
people, like
people just
hardcore
trickle in and
hardcore
then
people there, like show up a week even before that. They have like there's like a conference before Porkfest even. Like
really? Okay.
yeah, it's like the OGs are just like hanging out, and then like Porkfest itself is just another week long, and then it really heats up like Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the end, and Sunday. Like that's when things will really be kicking off. I should pull up the dates. But yeah, anybody that wants to attend, just look up Porkfest. And you don't need to buy a ticket to Monerotopia. You just have to get a ticket to Porkfest, and we're just gonna be one of the tents, and you'll find our tent there. Can't miss it. We're gonna have the biggest tent at Porkfest. We're renting it right next to the main stage of Porkfest itself.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so we'll be a unit there. Like we're gonna be the biggest tent at the best location at Porkfest, and this is because Aaron's been going for years. Um, he's been using that same tent in the past for the Brownstone Institute, I think it's called. I forget the name.
Okay,
So
yeah,
the
I've read
Brown
some of his articles that he's written for them.
yeah, so they always had the brownstone tent, which was great, and they always had a great stage there. But they're not doing it this year, so now he's allowing basically, teaming up with me to make that the privacy tech tent.
Well, awesome.
The
Like hopefully you guys
Monerotopia.
can keep doing that going forward because like I said earlier, like when we first started the podcast, like the Liberty community is super important for Monero. I believe like the interests align and they need a solution that Monero provides and Monero needs people to use it and they are the type of people that would use it like as money rather than try to get rich off of it. So
Yeah, it's the perfect community of people to hang out with. They're all there for opting out. Whether you're accepting Goldbacks or Monero, they all want to opt out and not use fiat. I highly recommend if you've never been, especially if you're interested in Monero, like Porkfest itself is cool for the Liberty things. And then obviously the fact that we have the Monero, it's like I highly recommend you go if you're into Monero and you want to check. If you've never been to a Monero conference, And if you're in the U.S., so it's very accessible in that regard. And we'll be playing the MoneroCon stream there, so you won't miss out on the Luke Parker talks.
You're still gonna play it for? All right, that's what I like to see,
yeah.
Doug. That's what I like to see. Upset, but still working towards unity.
Dude, I'm not going to not play
Yeah.
a Luke. Like that was the other thing too. They're like, oh, but by the way, we give you permission to play our. I'm like, I wasn't asking you for permission to play. I was gonna play your talks no matter what. You're like, it's a public stream. I'm not. You think I'm not playing like Luke Parker giving us the update on full chain membership proofs at my Monero conference? Like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't work like that.
All right. Speaking of Luke, did you see he posted a thing called like Frostlass or something that is like it dramatically improves like the multi-signature capabilities of Monero, so that now you can do dexes and
I didn't completely understand it, but it sounded
yeah.
it's basically a component of Sarai Dex. It looks like that's been reviewed and it's been found to be secure.
Yeah, like they did like cryptographic
yeah, they
review.
audited it and it passed the audit. So it's like I think that was kind of maybe like the last barrier that we had in terms of like audits and things you need to overcome technically. So it sounds like Sarai Dex is right around the corner.
Nice. And then he's open sourcing that, I'm sure, so like everybody else can now use that code to build other stuff with it, which is also very exciting.
Yeah, it's all going to be, FOSS, right? I mean, unless, of course, it's all going to be open source. And Sarai itself, though, I think it's gonna have a lot of momentum because obviously a lot of people, respect Luke, trust Luke, so they know it's gonna be good tech. And Luke being Luke, he's building it in, the most honest way possible in alignment with the Monero community and open, best open software practices, right? Like he's a true pro, and he's a fucking genius too when it comes to just the tech and being able to create these things. I mean, he basically built another version of Thorchain. It's just gonna be it's gonna integrate with Monero, which is freaking amazing. Like,
no, it is awesome.
I'm super excited for that. Do you use Thorchain at all?
No, but I wanted to ask you your opinion about it because like I have stayed away from Thorchain because they don't have Monero. Like they don't want to support it. So
like I would love it otherwise, and I've been trying to get. We had them at the first Monerotopia conference. We had one of the Thorchain guys. It was at the first one we did in Miami, and actually Luke attended. He wasn't really in the Monero community yet. Somebody got him to come to the conference, and it was out of that conference that Luke really decided to start like developing for Monero, and decided to build Sarai Dex because he saw that Thorchain wasn't going to do what they needed to do to integrate Monero.
So why didn't they want to integrate Monero? Like you talked to them. Like what did they tell you?
Basically, I mean, so there's two. Like they're basically saying like the Monero people never did what needed to be done for them to like do the integration. Like is like arguments that they're making, which is that's not the case. I feel like we even had at the conference we had at the time. I don't know if you remember the Haven project.
Yes,
they were involved in it, so they were actually dedicating their devs towards working on the integration, because if you could integrate Monero, then you can
integrate Haven.
Yeah. So like that was all being worked out. But really what it was is they didn't want the Thorchain community didn't want to take the risk of being associated with Monero and having to potentially deal with governments that would crack down on Thorchain.
That's extremely ironic considering that the Bybit hackers like laundered a huge portion of their stolen Ethereum through Thorchain, right? And then Thorchain like voted on should we stop them and intervene, and they chose not to. So like that to me is hilarious because like they didn't want to be associated with negative like connotations with their exchange, and then the biggest hack in history, like not just crypto, like the biggest hack that ever happened, launders all of the Ethereum like through their platform.
Right, but so the question is, but I guess they would say, well, if we had Monero, then like the government would really come at, like they would just try to like shut down the protocol and like come after our devs, right? Is like kind of the argument. I think is like they see it as more of a risk. Like,
do you think they're going to get charges brought against them? Because I know they're like somewhat decentralized, but like they had the opportunity. They voted on should we allow this to happen or not, and
I
they
sure
wanted to stay
fucking hope not.
cypherpunk, and they chose not to intervene. But like,
Yeah, I sure hope not, because that's going to be dangerous. That's dangerous
if
then
you
for
can
Survive.
intervene, like the
Yeah.
government could be like, hey, you facilitated like terrorism financing to North Korea, like for their nuclear program or something, because like
Yeah,
you
I'm not,
didn't stop it. Like you could have, and you
right. You
didn't.
you had the opportunity. And how did they have the? Oh, because they were gonna like basically like what?
Like the
Like
nodes, like there's like
they were
node
gonna back
runners,
up
right,
this.
that are like
Yeah.
validators or whatever, and they voted, and I guess they could have like frozen the account or something, but they voted not to do it. So
Yeah. I was trying to get Chad Bradford to come do a Monero talk. So he's big in that community from the
okay.
early days. It sounds I heard him on a space recently. Sounds like he stepped away a little bit, but he really he's like a Thorchain OG, and he was one of the guys that was pro. Let's add Monero to Thorchain day. I'm trying to get him on, and yeah, I'd love to get his up because I was asking him too. Like, so any has there been any change in in the community? Are they maybe now willing to add Monero? Because I'd love to see that, even with Sarai decks. Obviously, the more competition, the better, right? But I'm not getting any response from the Thorchain community in that regard.
They're having like a crisis right now, aren't they? Like, didn't
Yeah,
their
that's what I'm saying.
token and their loans, like, there's like a huge problem going on with like their economy,
Yeah,
like their token economy.
yeah, something like it's not like the architecture like not really working, like the financial architecture the way it works, right? It's not working out. Like they don't have enough liquidity or some shit.
Yeah, so
Uh,
maybe they're not ignoring you, they're just dealing with a
yeah.
fire they're
But
trying to put out.
my plea to them was like now's the perfect time to like, you guys are kind of down and out, right?
You've been
Like
co-signed by North Korea, like what more
yeah,
do you want?
like what do you gotta lose? Now just add Monero and make your thing fucking useful, you know?
um, that's hilarious, man. So we're about to end the interview because we've already gone another half hour almost, and I know you got a sleeping baby to deal with. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. You've been super generous with your time. Is there anything else you want to say or like promote before we get out of here?
Uh, I guess I would promote Monerotopia Porkfest. If you want to go, guys, go. Find the Porkfest website, and just buy a ticket to Porkfest, and you'll figure out all your arrangements there. You could team up with other people. You don't have to like camp there. You could get a hotel off the site, but you want to grab that sooner than later because all those things fill up too. And then I would just shill Monerotopia conference that's happening after Porkfest.
I'll
So
be
the
at
next
that one, 100%.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to meet you, and hopefully, I don't know, maybe we'll see where Gratuitas is at that point. We didn't even talk about Gratuitas, but
Oh shit, we can. Here, let's talk about
no,
it.
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm super excited about what you did the other day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's happening in February 2026 in Mexico City again. That's going to be the next Monerotopia after Monerotopia Porkfest. So basically, a little less than a year from now in Mexico City. It's been the venue is amazing, and it's like we're kind of we have a lot of Porkfest vibes at Monerotopia itself. Like tons of vendors that are there accepting Monero, amazing vendors, like all types of stuff, like good stuff.
Yeah,
It's a good
awesome.
time,
Yeah, I wish I
and
could go to Porkfest, but I'm gonna have to come to the one in Mexico.
sweet. So yeah, if people want to buy tickets for that, that's happening in February 2026 in Mexico City. We already put the tickets up, so you get super early bird ticks. But yeah, that's all I'll shill for now. We talked about everything else.
Cool.
Gratuitous, yeah, just to cover it. I mean, I'm glad you were able to do that for us and onboard the farmers, getting them their tips. I don't know if
Yep.
your viewers know what's going on. If you want to,
No, let's talk about it. I went out, well, I guess like 2 years ago, I started talking to Doug about coffee because he was trying to get Colombian coffee. He had Guatemalan coffee, and he was asking me if I knew a coffee farm that would be interested in possibly selling coffee to Gratuitous that they could sell for Monero and then have the workers receive tips in Monero at the point of sale, like when Doug sells it off the Gratuitous website. So I spoke to a friend of mine whose cousin works at a coffee farm in Genova, Quindío in Colombia, which is about 3.5 hours from my house. And they are like in the sweet spot of elevation. Their coffee is award-winning coffee. It's very, very good. So I started shipping coffee to Doug, and he was selling it in Gratuitous. And that was about 2 years that this has been going on. So over that time, the coffee workers had generated almost what was it, like 1.6 Monero or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost like
1.6 Monero in tips. And there was about 9 workers that we divided up between. So it worked out like in pesos, it was about 100,000 or 120,000 pesos per worker. They earn about 50,000 pesos per day. So they were like super happy because they got like 2.5 days of work in Monero. I helped them set up Cake Wallet. I gave them a beginner's presentation about Monero because they're not the most technical guys. They work out on the mountainside, but they were very, very happy to receive it. And I filmed my visit, and I'm working on a video, and we should have that, I don't know, probably like by the end of this week.
amazing, man. Amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. Yeah, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get down there. Definitely at some point. We went down to Guatemala, and that was awesome. We did the onboarding. You did this onboarding for us this time, but yeah, I definitely want to get down there and just like see the farm, and then see what we could do next. Like we're saying, like how can we grow it?
Yeah.
So anybody that wants, we sell this coffee if you're here in the States, or we even ship it to like Europe and stuff. Coffee is fantastic. I drink it every morning. We have a bunch of regulars that buy it from us. It's a great way to spend Monero, right? Not everybody drinks coffee, but anybody that does drink coffee, make this your daily cup, and you could spend Monero, receive the coffee. We'll ship it to you. We roast it fresh, so
Yeah, I
you get it
shipped the
shipped up.
coffee green.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, which is fantastic.
you
Get
custom
shipped up
roast it.
green, like right after it's freaking picked. We know where it's coming from, and then locally we have it roasted on demand per order and ship it out. So it's like really good quality. You can pay Monero, and then if you really like your coffee, you can send a tip. There's a QR code on the bag, and now it's going to go to these 9 farmers. For the first 2 years, we were just holding the tips, waiting to actually get the private keys in their hands, and now you've accomplished that. So you guys can tip moving forward, and we'll be dispersing those tips as well. So
Indeed.
yeah, simple but powerful concept, and I'm hoping now maybe we can start to grow it, right? Like if we get like a local store there in their town, in the nearest town, to like maybe agree to start
I
accepting
think we
Monero.
need like a restaurant, like a grocery store, and then like a little convenience store.
That's it.
And then with those 3 things, they could
Yeah.
spend their money.
Yeah, and then maybe we get to the point where the farm is accepting payment in Monero, right?
Yeah.
Or at least a portion of payment, right? Maybe not all maybe half the order they'll accept payment in Monero, right? So, and then just keep building it up that way.
So yeah, no, it was super exciting, man. That was cool. I'd never been out there before. I'd been talking to Bernardo for like as long as I'd been talking to you, basically, and I'd never met him, so I got to meet him in real life. That was super
The
cool.
farm looks beautiful, man, and mountaintops over there. I mean, that looks
Yeah,
like freaking amazing.
it is
Yeah.
amazing. Like it's jaw-droppingly beautiful. Like the views, like that you see from the mountains and stuff, is like these huge canyons and jungle. It's absolutely incredible.
I will be going. And like we said too, like another idea is like maybe we get, some of the locals there to post Airbnbs for Monero. Right now, you could stay in Monero Coffee Town. You can go visit the local place where we get the coffee. He'll give you a tour of how they make the coffee. You could, pay in Monero for the coffee. Right? Like we could. It's not a bad idea, right? I mean, I know I would.
I
pay
think
for that
if we could convince people that people are going to come and actually spend Monero, then and it's worth it for them to accept it, then yeah, I think it could work.
Are there any Airbnbs or anything in that town? Like
I'm
could people ever
sure.
visit that
Well,
town?
I don't know. Like to be honest, I don't know because it's very, very small. It's only like 6,000 people,
Okay.
and it's like it's pretty far from like the closest city. Like the closest city is like probably like an hour and a half away. So it's like out in the middle of nowhere. But
Maybe you could even just stay on the farm. Does he have like anything set up like that?
no, but I'm sure we could set something up. Like
That'd be freaking
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Like
Monero Airbnb at the coffee farm.
he has 2 farms. So like
Wow.
one's on like one mountaintop and then the other one's on the other mountaintop, and you can like see the other one from the one. So like I don't know. Maybe between the 2 farms he might be able to have some.
I mean, the other thing we talked about too was maybe getting our own plot of land, right? And
Yeah.
like then we could do whatever we want, right? And
Yeah.
and not the worst investment either.
Yeah.
We could. That's not out of the realm of possibilities either. I know you were showing me some plots of land
Yeah.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was actually living like in a different area, not where the coffee farm we're talking about now is, but I was living in a different coffee area, like outside the city where I live, and they had farms here, like too. Like I'm in another like big coffee cultivating area. Like it's
Yeah.
just a different region, I guess.
Fantastic, man. I'm sure it's beautiful.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks,
All
Doug.
right, brother. Yeah,
It's been awesome. Oh, one last question, real quick, before you go.
sure.
Bison, the Decred Dex, is adding Monero. Do you know anything about that?
Oh, sweet. I know it exists. I don't know much about them though. But now that they're adding Monero, would love to, yeah, have them on Monerotopia and whatnot.
Yeah,
I'll write that down.
they're working on it right now. So I
Have you
don't know
used it?
how soon it'll be ready, because they said that it was because like Monero is different than like a lot of other cryptocurrencies do, to the fact that it
Right.
doesn't have scripting and stuff. So like they had to do like a lot of work to integrate it, but they're working on it and it should be coming soon. And that Dex is sick. I don't know if you've had a chance to use it, but like
No, you've used it?
I used like a test version of it, like because I interviewed Exitus, who's part of the Decred DAO. I interviewed him in September of last year, like right before the Dex was like live on mainnet, right? So like he gave me like a demo, not like a demo, but like a testnet version of it, and I was playing around with it, and it was super cool. And I know they've like improved the shit out of it since I played with the demo. So
I'm writing down Bison decks because I have been watching that, but I'm writing them down so I don't forget because they could be a good like yeah Monerotopia privacy tech, uh, you know, attendee.
yeah, Decred is they're like the other cypherpunk community besides Monero.
Yeah, no, they were like big, like when Monero first. That's like they came out around the same time, right? And they both had
Yeah.
good teams, good values.
And they have like in their like in the node, like when you run a Decred node, like there's a coin join in it, and like about 60% of the total supply of Decred has been coin joined. Like so
Oh,
it
really?
has legit privacy. Like
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
because it wasn't always privacy focused, right? I guess the real thing was like governance, right? Was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing
yeah.
that was trying to solve.
Yeah, they have
Uh,
like proof of stake and proof of work, right? And like the stakers can vote on like what they do for the protocol and all that. And then but like the nodes, like one of the things they voted in was like privacy like built into the node. So like the coins just like automatically coin join from like node to node. Like
we had them on the Monerotopia actually conference website. I think the year before last one because we had one of the locals there was big into Decred, but he wasn't able to get somebody to come talk at the conference. They were like, there wasn't really much of a community, so more. I'm more than happy to have them participate if Decred wants to participate in Monerotopia.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Uh, if you're trying to interview somebody about their decks, I talked to a guy named Exitus who is on
Okay.
Twitter, and he's super cool. You can DM him, and I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Sweet.
Yeah,
That's exciting. Yeah, just another on ramp, right?
yeah,
Another decentralized on and off ramp.
yeah. If we can get 4 or 5 good dexes with decent liquidity, like we could really have like something unstoppable.
Oh yeah. I mean the Sarai I'm really because like that's gonna be like that that could scale really well, right?
Yeah,
These liquidity pools, the way Thorchain works, like I like you'll be able to move in and out of Monero pretty seamlessly. And then they're gonna integrate right into Cake Wallet, so I think it's gonna be pretty slick. I think it's gonna feel just like an instant exchange, just like
that'd
any
be
great
amazing.
instant exchange. Except probably it's going to be very competitive in terms of the rates, right? Because it's going to be more competitive than the instant exchanges, I'm sure, because it's going to get a lot of volume. So super exciting.
Super exciting. There's that. Okay, so Rise coming. Then Havino has been breaking records for volume. Like every like
Yes.
month, every week, it seems like they're posting, oh, new record of volume. So that's amazing. Bisq, people have always used Bisq. Bisq has pretty good Monero volume on it. So
Mm-hmm.
there's 3, and then Basic Swap is another one that I
Yep.
know a bunch of people use. So like we're almost there. We almost have like a pretty decent ecosystem of peer-to-peer trading, like that's unstoppable, like decentralized.
Yeah, the tools are all there. Now we
Yeah,
just got to grow. We got to tweak like the UX and the UI and just like reach network effect on these platforms. So yeah, but the tools exist.
What do you think about the? This is the last question, I swear to God, and then I'll let you go. What do you think about this?
I do this. I have a bad habit. I do the same thing.
Yeah. You seen that Monero boat site that shows like the street price of Monero and then like the regular price of Monero like on the exchange?
Yes.
Okay, like there's a big discrepancy there a lot of times. Like so, there's like opportunities for arbitrage there, but like what do you think, like how soon do you think it will be before like those prices like either totally decouple or like meld together and like become the same, one and the same?
Yeah, I mean their street price is really what? That's like the Havino price essentially.
Yeah, the Havino price, no KYC Monero, like
Yeah.
it's always a lot. It's sometimes it's a lot more, but it's always a little more, it seems like.
I think, like we're saying, right? So as these additional dexes get added, and if they obtain a lot of liquidity, then that should be what brings down the street price, right? So if effective, like Sarai Dex takes off,
Yeah.
and there's like tens of millions of dollars flowing from Bitcoin into Monero on Sarai Dex, maybe eventually hundreds of millions, becomes like Thorchain level. That would bring down the what, right? Because that would be the street price, right?
Yeah.
Buying, KYC free Monero on Sarai. So I think it could be sooner than we think. Within I'd say the next 2 years.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that prediction.
I mean, just throwing it out there, but
no, I've just been curious about it. So,
I mean, that's me hoping Sarai Dex like launches within like the next 6 months, and then a year and a half of growth.
do you think we're gonna get Sarai before full chain membership proofs?
Well, I think we're supposed to get full chain membership proofs.
Like at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I watched your interview with I think his name's Justin Berman. I always mess his name up.
Yes.
And he was like super optimistic. He was like, if we don't get it by the end of the year, I'm gonna be disappointed. Like, so.
Yeah. So I think we'll actually get full chain membership proofs. But Luke is a freaking phenom. So like he may just be like, "Oh, MoneroCon's coming up, so I want to have everything finished by then." So he'll be announcing at MoneroCon, "I'm launching Sarai Dex, and full chain membership proofs is actually sooner than we think. It'll be like another 2 months or so."
Yeah.
That's me hoping and wishing. But he really is like that though. The kid is a freaking phenom. I hope. God, man, I pray for that kid because like there is like we're talking about all that assholic behavior and everything that happens in the ecosystem. I just don't want people like him to get pissed off because I do see at times he does, and I just,
Didn't he?
like please don't piss off Luke. Just shut the fuck up, get out of his way.
No, like I don't know if I should bring this up or not, but at your conference, like, didn't somebody say some shit and like he was kind of upset by it?
Yeah. We don't need to go down that whole road.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like the conversation we were having before, and I don't totally disagree with him there. Like the primary purpose of that conference is to be there talking about Monero, digital cash, opting out. If people are saying other like political or edgy shit that has nothing to do with it, but just like is mean to an entire section of society,
alienating. Yeah.
like it's not. We don't need that there. Like I'm all about free speech, but not if it's gonna fucking ruin a conference. Like to the point where we can't achieve what we need to achieve. So I actually, while I may have handled it personally different, like I see where he's coming from, and I'd rather make sure that Luke Parker wants to participate in a conference like that than do something where we're doing something that's like, I don't know,
Offensive.
pissing people. Yeah, if the Monero devs aren't showing up, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, it's great. Now we could freely talk about whatever we want, but meanwhile, we don't have the Monero devs here. Like that's.
Yeah, no, when you put it that way, it makes 100% sense. But yeah, man. Well, it was a blast talking to you. Thanks for hanging out for a couple hours. And yeah, when this is live, I'll send you a link to it.
All right.
All right.
Cheers, man.
Take care.